The first one, we have the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. That's the ministry which is responsible for ensuring that we have the relevant policies and laws in place, but they also are responsible for investor attraction. So you'll see a number of times when the minister has to engage different potential investors to try and attract investment into the country. Then the second organization is the Uganda National Oil Company, Cnooc. So Cnooc is the commercial, or the commercial, handles the commercial interests of government in regards to the oil and gas sector. So it's an oil company that's owned by the Ministry of Energy and Finance and is doing business on behalf of the government of Uganda. Then the Petroleum Authority, which is where I come from, we ideally regulate the upstream and the midstream sectors. Now in regulating, we try to see that everything that is done in the sector is done in line with the law. And in doing that mandate, we try as much as possible to support Ugandan companies as well as companies in the sector to ensure that everything is done transparently and in a fair way. Now, we have a number of, you usually will hear upstream, midstream. So when it comes to upstream, in the upstream area is where we try to explore for the oil. And in the exploration space, we have 5 exploration licenses at the moment. So those licenses are owned by 4 companies that are currently exploring to find more oil. So we have Cnooc, the Uganda National Oil Company, we have Oranto Energy, Ama Energy, and then DGR Energy. So those are the players who in the upstream are exploring to see that we find additional resources. Then we have the development and production players. Now that is where, after we have discovered that we have some oil, now companies like Cnooc and Total help us to develop and drill that oil to come out of the ground. So in this particular space of development and production, we have mainly 3 players. We have Cnooc, which is handling the Kingfisher development area. Then we have Total Energies, which is handling the Tilenga side. And then Cnooc has stake in both as on behalf of government. Now, in regards to what we have so far discovered, as a country, so far discovered we have about 6 billion barrels of oil. But with the available technology, what we will be able to drill and get out of the ground is about 1.5 billion barrels of oil. So we hope that this is going to run about maybe 25 years. Now, our drilling success rate as a country is at about 88%, as compared to a world average of about 20%. So we are hopeful that even the exploration rounds that are ongoing will be able to yield more oil discoveries. So as a company, you need to see that as you organize yourself, you even target the coming grounds of discoveries. Then once we develop and get it out of the ground, we then have to sell it to be able to earn revenue as a country. So for that, we have 2 strategies. We have the eco pipeline. Now the transportation, the refining, that's what we call the midstream. So for the midstream, we have also 2 projects. We have the eco, the pipeline, which is about 1,445 kilometers long from Kampala industrial area to Tanga. So in Uganda, it's going to cross 10 districts. And then the other project in the midstream is the refinery. So overall, there are 4 key projects that are running and the ones that we probably need to target. So the first one, which we'll be able to get a detailed brief on, is the Kingfisher development area, which we hope will be able to yield about 40,000 barrels of oil at Plateau, 40,000 barrels per day. Now, this is a project that's going to invest about between $2 to $3 billion. And a lot of this is happening in the next 2 years. So we need to see how we tap into that space. In regards to that development, I think the next speaker is going to give a very detailed brief of where we are. Then we have the Tilenga area. This is operated by Total. Now, Tilenga has about 31 well pads and over 430 different wells which are going to be drilled. So the Tilenga project at peak will be giving us about 190,000 barrels of oil per day. Now, that project is likely to see an investment of between $3 to $4 billion. Also, a lot of this is going to be invested within the next 2 years because we are targeting to have first oil by 2025, 2026. So, those are the two main projects in the upstream space. Then in the midstream, we'll have the ECOP, which is going to be transporting about 180,000 barrels of crude oil per day. Now, this project also has opportunities and is mainly kicking off in January. A number of preparatory works are ongoing, but the key areas are kicking off in January. Now, that project is also likely to see an investment of between 3.5 to 4.5 billion being invested. Then we are currently in engagements with potential sponsors for a refinery. So as part of our strategy, we hope to also have a refinery which is going to be able to do 60,000 barrels of oil per day, a capacity of that. And we likely also see an investment of between 3 to 4 billion US dollars. So from this, you can be able to see that over the next 2 to 3 years, we are likely to see an investment of about 10 to 15 billion dollars. Now, in the scope of things, our economy as Uganda is about a 40 billion economy. So we are going to see investments that are about between a quarter to half our GDP in a very short span of time. So we need to see that as companies, as individuals, we see how to tap into those opportunities. Now, what have we achieved so far in regards to national content and this space? Now, I'll start, because this is a supplier workshop, I'll start with how have we benefited as Ugandan companies? So first things first, in regards to contracting. As we speak now, contracts worth a little over 7.1 billion have been approved for award. Of this, about 1.9 billion has gone to Ugandan companies. So Ugandan companies are executing about 25% of the overall business opportunities in the sector. Now, of these, out of over 435 companies that have gotten opportunities, 75% are actually Ugandan companies. So from that, you can be able to see that we are heavily participating as Ugandan companies. However, we are doing a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 contracting, which is fairly lower value because the sector is new, but we encourage you to ensure you quickly build capacity so that we can do the more complex and more high value projects. So in regards to contracting, we're at about 25%. We are targeting to at least see that we retain at least 40% of these investments that are going to be undertaken in the sector. Then in regards to employment of Ugandans, we have a little over 13,000 people currently employed in the oil and gas sector. Of these, 94% are Ugandan citizens. So we have at least really benefited in regards to employment. Initially, when we were targeting, we thought at peak we'd have maybe about 15,000 people directly employed. But we are not at peak yet, and we are very close to that target. So we are hoping that we'll even surpass it. Then in regards to skilling, a number of people have benefited from different skilling initiatives, both artisan as well as degrees and master's classes. In regards to government, over 200 government officials have benefited from oil and gas training, so that we have the relevant skills, knowledge, and expertise to quality assure what is happening in the sector. But also, a number of people have been trained specifically for oil and gas. There are areas that before oil and gas were not really a focus for us, and one of those was health, safety, and environment. But now those are very core, and we've seen a number of people being skilled and trained in these different areas. Then in regards to enterprise development, we've also seen over 2,000 companies being trained. A number of these have been supported, and they're on their journeys to be certified internationally so that they can effectively compete in the oil and gas sector. We are currently implementing a project as Petroleum Authority, which is funded by AFDB, where we've managed to train close to 500 businesses, specifically along the eco pipeline, to try and prepare them so that they can also participate in the oil and gas space. Now, with these achievements, we are still not where we want to be. We want to be able to achieve a lot more. And government has put in place a very favorable legal framework for especially Ugandan companies. Framework, priority is given to Ugandan companies in all procurements. So it's only when we can't find a Ugandan company that we'll then consider a joint venture between a Ugandan company and a foreign partner. And then if we are not able to also find that, then that's why we would consider a foreign company. So in regards to the opportunities, you're given first priority, and we need to take advantage of this. Then furthermore, also in regards to procurements, 10% of the overall score is awarded on the basis of national content. So as part of the law, if, for example, at financial and technical, the difference between the two players is less than 5%. One company scores maybe 82, another scores 85. As long as the difference is less than 5%, then we no longer look at who has scored higher. We look at, of those two companies, which one had the higher national content score. So we've seen in procurement, usually Ugandan companies neglect or don't give enough attention to national content because you feel I'm already a Ugandan company, so by default I should score. But you need to emphasize and show, as a Ugandan company, how many people are you going to hire, how many people are you going to skill, are there opportunities for you subcontracting other Ugandan companies? All these need to be part of your bid so that you score highly on national content, and in the event that you're a close second, you can be considered ahead of the other party who may not score as highly on national content. So the law is very strong. And also in regards to ensuring that Ugandans participate, there are like 16 areas that were ring-fenced for Ugandan companies. Now those 16, we felt we already had sufficient capacity as Ugandans to do those. But Ugandan companies are not restricted to those 16 areas. If you have the capacity to be able to do the high value contracts, the design works, the higher level things, the non-destructive testing, the drilling and production elements, we encourage you to do that as well. Because these ones were ring-fenced because we had capacity and we needed to build capacity in the other areas. If you have capacity in those other areas, which are usually more value, please, we encourage you to undertake them so that we are not limited to just those areas where we were already good. Then there are a number of opportunities, like I've noted across the different projects in oil and gas. However, oil and gas does not operate in a vacuum. We are operating, and there are linkages with other sectors of the economy. So from the presentations, from the introductions, I had a number of people in the agricultural space, agricultural value chain. Now, as a result of oil and gas, we are going to see over 100,000 people working in the Albertine Graben during peak operations. Now, this is a very high number in comparison to the historical numbers of people who work there. We're going to see over 1 million people coming in and out of the Albertine Graben in order to do oil and gas work. And we'll see over 15,000 people in the different camps. So all these people have to have quality food, because in the oil and gas space we really have to ensure that there's quality, especially in food. And sometimes as people are supplying and they're saying the standards are very high, why don't you lower them? Sometimes we need to also ensure that as we deliver services, we are cognizant of the sector in which we are working in. Now, one of the reasons why, for example, the way we handle our food as we deliver to the camps, the quality of the food has to be high, is because people are working in an enclosed space. If, for example, you delivered food that wasn't good and the camp got food poisoning, we are going to probably have maybe 3 days to 5 days of no productivity. Some of the people in these camps are paid on a daily rate, and some very expensively. Now, as government, we also have a role to do in ensuring that the costs of implementing these projects are well managed. Because at the end of the day, we have to pay back these amounts. So we have to make sure we get value as much as possible. So we need to also ensure that as we take up these opportunities, we ensure that we can meet the required standards as well as quality. Then as we prepare for the opportunities, we need to ensure that one, we are registered on the National Supplier Database and that our registration is valid. Because we've seen some companies that registered, your registration is valid for a period of 3 years. And some fall off and they do not know they fell off the register until there is a bid. And then they tell you, oh, you're not on the supplier database. Then now you have to try and run and renew your registration, and sometimes you miss out on opportunities. So every once in a while, check on your profile. Make sure your registration is valid. If you have built expertise, kindly add it. Because the database also enables other people who would like to do business with you to see what it is that you can do and what kind of expertise you have. So update your profiles. Then ensure that the contact information is actually correct. Some people at the point of registration, you may be sought for help and the person puts their contact information. So when we are sending you communications on opportunities, on different engagements, the communications are going elsewhere. So you need to ensure that you get all the relevant information, keep track of what it is that is happening in the sector so that you can participate, but also as much as possible, as a way of building capacity, work in joint ventures. Because joint ventures are one of the ways we have seen that have enabled Ugandan companies especially to participate in very big scopes. So in regards to joint ventures, you can do joint ventures with other Ugandan companies where you feel you can leverage each other's strengths, but also you can do joint ventures with foreign companies. Because some of them have been at the oil and gas business game for over 50 years, some close to 100. So you can be able to learn from these companies. Now, in regards to joint ventures, especially between foreign and Ugandan companies, the Petroleum Authority has to approve the joint venture. And one of the key things that we look out for is the participating interest of the Ugandan company. So in line with the law, for upstream, the Ugandan company has to have a participating interest of at least 48% in the joint venture. Because we don't want you to get into a joint venture where you're getting no value. You get into a joint venture and you're getting 5% of the outcomes of the joint venture. So the law in protecting Ugandan company interests mandated that the minimum share in a joint venture for a Ugandan company should be 48%. So you clearly, as you get into these arrangements, clearly define what each party is going to do so that you build your capacity and also participate in the more technical areas. So as I conclude, I encourage you to, whenever you have any challenges, to reach out to the Petroleum Authority. We are always on hand to ensure that we support you. So if you have any challenges around the oil and gas space, you'd like to access information, if you have any inquiry, our doors are always open. I think I can commit that as long as you communicate to us, we always respond. If you have any query, if you would like a meeting with us, our offices are always open. We have offices in Entebbe and we have a liaison office just down here at Amber House. So with that, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to come and participate in these supplier development workshops, because the key way to know about what opportunities are coming and what it is that can be done to ensure that we participate in these opportunities. With that, I'd like to thank you and wish you a lovely remaining part of this session. Thank you.
I request that you clap more and better. Thank you very much.
We are an operator, an international oil company that is very passionate about developing national content. In other words, national participation. And our endeavors revolve around supplier development, supplier engagement, skills, and technology transfer and knowledge transfer to Ugandans, so that we develop the competency of our Ugandans to competently and gainfully participate in the oil sector and the developments that are going on right now and those to come in the near future, as well as the entire production. As you know, that our licenses will last somewhere around 25 years. So the entire oil activities will go on for at least 25 years. Of course, the development stage will go on for the next 2 or 3 years or 4 years, and thereafter we'll have production that will carry on until somewhere around 2047. Somewhere around there. Okay, now I want to share with you more about the Kingfisher development. I am aware that some of you are probably returnees. You've already taken up opportunities in the oil sector, and you're here to know about more opportunities that are coming up in 2024. But I'm also aware, or I assume that some of you are newbies. Some have not been here before. So allow me to give you a brief background on the Kingfisher development. Okay, as our previous speaker, the representative from the authority, mentioned earlier, there are majorly 2 projects. One of them is Kingfisher development, and the other one is Telenga. Now, Cnooc were the operators of the Kingfisher development. Just an overview of the Kingfisher development. It is located in Buhuga sub-county to the south of Lake Albert, and it's an area that's known as Exploration Area 3 or License Area 3, but popularly known as the Kingfisher development. It covers an area of roughly about 32 or thereabouts square kilometers. And we're looking at producing about 40,000 barrels per day at peak when we start production. Okay. Our strategy of developing the Kingfisher, in fact, Kingfisher has got basically 2. There is what we call the Kingfisher South and the LA2 North. Now, LA2 North is located in a place called Kaisotonia. Kaisotwenya area is that area that you see up here, there. Okay, so we haven't started developing that yet. Okay, we'll develop that at least 7 years into production. So that is still coming up. Is still basically work in progress or mark time on that one. At the moment, we're focusing on the Kingfisher South development. Okay, now some of the projects. Okay, so some of the projects that are ongoing at Kingfisher, we have the surface facilities projects that are currently being developed. And some of them, in fact, most of these are to do with civil works and construction and engineering and so on and so forth. Okay, we have 4 well pads at Kingfisher. 3 of the well pads have already been constructed and they're ready. And, you know, they were constructed by a Ugandan company. I think you're aware of a company called Excel Constructions. Okay, so they did that. It was such a huge project, but they successfully completed 3 well pads. The 4th well pad will come online soon as well. Okay, we have the Central Processing Facility, or the CPF. Now, the CPF is that facility that treats the crude oil as it comes out of the ground. Of course, it comes with, you know, very impure, you know, with lots of water, sand, and other impurities. So it is treated at the CPF to make it, you know, to bring it to a quality or standard that can be exported or that can be refined into further products. Okay. Then we also have the supply base station, where the materials will be stored. You know, construction materials. It's such a huge area, so, you know, with warehouses and so on and so forth. And that is being constructed by another company. I'll give you the details later. And we have the permanent camp. Of course, at the Kingfisher, there is people that work there. We have, at the moment, about 2,000 heads, 2,000 people working there. And they need someone to stay. Okay, so we have the temporary camp there. But once the permanent camp is done, the temporary camp will be demolished, and people or the engineers and other staff will be living in the permanent camp. Okay. We have the safety check station. The safety check station is, that one is at the top before you go down the escarpment into the Rift Valley where the oil is. The safety check station is basically to check whether the vehicles are in good shape to go down the escarpment, to control the access to the oil field. And we don't know who wants to get in, so that is the instance of having a safety check station there as well. We have roads in the infield roads and other infrastructure, as well as a approximately 48-kilometer pipeline that will transfer the treated crude oil from the CPF to the pump station in Kabale Industrial Park to where the refinery and the export pipeline will be located. Okay? So that is the brief about the surface facilities. Okay? Obviously, there is also subsurface works going on, especially to do with drilling. Drilling completions. Okay, this basically just shows a schematic to show the surface facilities, so I'm not going to dwell so much on that. The well pads, if you look at the bottom row in the middle, that is what the well pads look like. The permanent camp and the supply base station, those are just the sort of like pictorials to show case over here. Now, where are we at the moment with regards to all these projects, especially the surface facilities? Okay. Remember earlier I talked about the well pads. Okay. The well pads and other surface facilities, especially the infield roads, is what we call work package 1, PC1. Okay. So I mentioned earlier that is almost complete. We have 3 of them done, and it's basically at 92%. And Excel Construction has has commissioned some of the well parts and basically demobilized out of there. That's well part 1, well part 2, well part 3. Well part 4 will be constructed in the near future. Okay. EPC 2 is basically the temporary camp, as well as the safety check station, the supply base station. Okay, that work package is at 78% progression, and that one is also going on very well. We hope that by the close of next year, it should be done. Now, EPC 3, the CPF and the infield flow lines, that's halfway being done. It's being constructed, or the project is being led by one of our contractors called CCJV. Okay. Now, the EPC 4, that is the pipelines that we talked about, the 48-kilometer pipeline, and that one is almost halfway. 27 kilometers have already been laid at this moment in time. Okay. So what does this tell us? This tells us that the Kingfisher development is still ongoing. Okay, it is still ongoing. We've only just started the development after FID last year, and this year, at the beginning of this year, we started drilling. Okay, but we have, we're going on at least until the back end of 2024, 2025 to complete the development at KFDA. Before then, we start another phase, which is called production phase. Okay. Now, what I'm saying is, there is a give and take. Some of, there are some factors that may kind of like push the dates back or draw them closer. Okay. But what is most important here is that we showcase that most of this work, even though some of the major contractors, because of the technical competence and the financial muscle, some of them are international companies. Okay. But most of the work is being subcontracted to Ugandan companies. So far today, we as Cnooc have contracted about over 100 contractors from Uganda. Those are Ugandan companies, and we've spent roughly about $82 million with Ugandan companies. Okay, and then our contractors that I've just mentioned, they've also issued or subcontracted Ugandans, somewhere around I think 60 contractors, and they have also spent somewhere around $76 million with Ugandan companies. Okay, and that's pure Ugandan companies. And now there's also opportunities for joint venture, especially, and that is what we keep on promoting and pushing our contractors to do. If there is work or a work package that requires technical competence and maybe some financial muscle, and have a Ugandan company that is competent but maybe is weak in certain aspects, that company can, can effectively participate through a joint venture with an international company. Okay? So all these opportunities that we keep pushing through, and we keep on encouraging our contractors to involve Ugandans to develop the projects. We're here to learn about more opportunities, but these opportunities that Cnooc itself has got. Okay, and we're looking at having Ugandans take up these opportunities. All right, the opportunities are they are categorized. We have some of them to do with environment, some of them to do with engineering, some of them to do with general supplies. Okay, as we'll see later on today. Okay, but we always, as you understand, that the oil sector is a bit stringent on some of the requirements, especially procurement requirements. We will also hear about some of the requirements that we need of you, especially to do with the registration on the NSD, and how to effectively participate through the bidding process and some bidding strategies to ensure that you win. Okay? We also will share later on some of the challenges that we face, especially with our Ugandan leaders. Okay, it's not always a sell-through. We also face challenges, and those challenges will be shared later on. Now, there are stringent safety requirements within the oil and gas sector. Okay? We don't want you to remain oblivious about them. We're here because we want to take opportunities. We want you to understand what our requirements are when it comes to safety. We also want you to understand what our requirements are when it comes to procurement. What do we need from you? What sort of documents you need to prepare and submit? Yeah, we need it to be registered on the NSD, and we need your subscription on the NSD to be, to be up to date by the time you come up to take these opportunities. Okay. With that, I think I've been very brief with this remark. Then I'll hand you over to some of my colleagues that will share more information with you.
I'm Michael Mulamba.
Yes, sir.
I'm from Card Services.
Okay.
Mine goes to PAU.
Okay.
I'm inquiring if you have issues to do with the registration, where do you address them?
Okay.
Because there is an email, PAU, registration at pau.something.go.ug, but when you send an email there, you've never got a response.
Okay, thank you.
I'm from Cnooc group of companies. My question still to the PAU. You spoke about the skilling and that are these opportunities still available in the health, safety and environment skilling for some people? No concentration was in the western part of Albertine region, but of other parts of the country, also eastern where I come from.
The 16 areas that were specific, you didn't tell us the areas. And also, this renewal of members in the national database registration, why should it be only 2 years?
I'm Martin Vyamkama from Medicare Company Limited Chikube. This goes to Uganda Petroleum Authority and Cnooc. Like, which initiative are you prepared to make to improve on the telecommunication networks? For instance, liaising with UCC to improve the network, mostly in remote areas. For instance, at grassroots in Chikube, some areas, network, internet is very poor. In a way that when you are planning to register or do what, you get disturbed. We have tried like for like 6 years to coordinate with this UCC and MTN and Airtel to put a booster somewhere with some free land, but it has failed 6 years. Okay. So that is my concern. Thank you very much.
Issues around registration. We have a dedicated team, registration on the National Supplier Database. So kindly send the issues or the support you'd like to nsd@pau.go.ug.
May you please...
So let me repeat it. It's nsd@pau.go.ug. So once you send your issue to that email, I think within 1 day, we should be able to respond and advise on how that issue can be rectified. Then in regards to David's question on skilling opportunities, yes, they are still available. I'd like to say that almost all the different companies have what we call national content commitments. And in these commitments, they specify what they're going to do across the national content pillars, from skilling to enterprise development to these other areas. Now, a lot of the focus has been on giving an opportunity to the project host areas, but I think we are now trying to start to see that the rest of the country can also participate in these other skilling initiatives. And I think there are efforts to try to internationally certify some of the other training institutions outside the Albertine so that they can be able to support these skilling efforts. Then in regards to the 16 ring-fenced areas, I think they're going to be in the next presentation, but most of them are around logistics, clearing and forwarding, civil works, waste management, telecom, communication, things to do with security and information services. So the ring-fenced services are many, but they are going to be detailed in the next presentation. Then in regards to initiatives to improve telecom, I think there's been discussions between the contractors and licensed oil companies with MTN and Airtel to see that they boost, because now a number of companies are setting up in Chikube, in Noya, and they need to have very fast and efficient network to be able to carry onwards. So I think within this year that's starting, we should be able to see a significant improvement, because there are discussions of even having dedicated lines just to boost the internet access in those areas because of the level of progress and the activity that's going to happen in the next year.
But you as a petroleum authority, I hope you understand, you people, you understand the climate impact that we have. So I would want you to really speak, especially Petroleum Authority of Uganda. What are your policies? What are you doing really for us in the climate related? Because you speak about it, don't leave it hanging. Because it's a big thing really. Okay. There's a lot to speak about, but I hope you will bring it up more often really.
Okay.
We do what we call environmental and social impact assessments before they are even approved. And some of our projects are happening in what we call environmentally sensitive areas. So part of our role as PAU is to ensure that the environment and all these different projects that are being done are done in a way that has minimal impact on the environment. So you'll see that, for example, the rigs that are being used are noise cancelling so that they do not interrupt with the livelihoods of the different biodiversity in the areas in which we operate. Then also, all the different companies have specific mandates to ensure that the techniques that are being used are environmentally friendly. And as an authority, at any given point, we have people in the field from our different areas monitoring to ensure there's adherence to the way the environment, the way that activities are done, that they are environmentally safe and in a friendly way. So there's a lot that is actually being done to ensure that there's minimal impact on the environment. Then also, I'd like to probably note that in some of the environment outcries that have been made, especially in regards to our projects, have actually been based on a lot of misinformation. A lot of the outcries that are made are actually not factual, because we have ensured that we monitor how the projects are being done, and we are very, very strict. I think the companies can be able to tell you. When it comes to the environment, we are very, very strict to ensure that everything is done in line with what is approved, but also in a way that has minimal impacts. Now, once the project's done, for example, like you saw that temporary camps and all these things, once this is done, they have to ensure that they do what we call restoration. So when the camp is demoralized, the temporary camp, that area has to be restored to like the way it was before these projects were done. And also the initiatives which we have worked hand in hand with the companies, for example, initiatives around planting trees to ensure that the environment actually is improved as a result of these activities as opposed to the other way around. Now, if you've been to the project areas, I think there's a lot more vegetation now than there was before in terms of trees that have been planted. There's an effort to plant close to 40 million trees to ensure that that offsets the impact of the oil and gas activities on the environment. So There's a lot that's being done. We just probably need to bring a lot of this to your attention as companies. Thank you.
Maybe for purposes of more confidence, now that from you as a regulator, let's see the practice. Especially we're interested in the mitigation hierarchy. Whether you are, I think my brother wants to know whether the mitigation hierarchy is being fulfilled in the RAP implementation. Please.
Okay. Thank you very much for your question. It's quite important because we all realize the impact of weather and climate change. So what Cnooc does is we normally have quarterly compliance monitoring. So we go out on the market and get competent contractors who can carry out such assessments. So they carry out through the impact assessment. What they do is they go to the community, have several meetings with people in the community so they can share their challenges they're facing with the climate change and the weather. When this assessment is done, they go ahead and do the compliance monitoring. So they do both the KFDA and the LA2 South. That is where Cnooc operates. So when we do this, we get the reports, and there are some indicators that they look out for, including surface water quality. They look out for the noise pollution. They look out for underground water quality. So these are kind of the things that they are carried out. And then with that, they also give us an audit of what is happening in this area. So these are done quarterly, and it is just to help all the operations that are in these areas go on smoothly. So we're not neglecting that aspect. It's very important for us. And just to let you know that we really take it very seriously and make sure that the environment is safe for all operations.
Thank you. That said and heard, I think
I work in the procurement and contracts department as a contracts coordinator. So we run the whole cycle of the procurement from when we get a requisition from the user until contracting, and maybe follow up reports from the implementation. So opening marks definitely have already been said, introductions. My next one will be the aims, objectives, and the purpose of this whole presentation. And I'll just start off. Basically, the most important thing is the procurement process overview. And this is basically what Cnooc Uganda Limited, our procurement process looks like. So we have the PSM. Yeah, if you look there, I don't know why it's not very clear. With my laptop, or it's the okay, I'll just explain, but it's a bit blurry, but I hope you can just see a few things. It's okay, right? Okay. So the first very important step is the planning and sourcing process. Definitely the planning comes from the user. The user gives us their needs, their procurement needs. They bring them to the procurement department, where the procurement department will start processing the procurement process to move forward and source for the best candidate. The next is expression of interest. We normally call them the EOIs. Pre-qualification, request for proposal, the RFPs, contract award, and then the next one I'll talk about is key tender shortfalls to avoid. Those are the challenges you face and also the challenges
the evaluation team down at Cnooc procurement first. So we'll move strictly. So expression of interest and pre-qualification, which is called the PQ, compliance with the regulation, that is the Upstream National Content Regulations 2016. Expression of interest must ensure that all procurements whose values are excess of 500,000 are advertised in the print and electronic media, including widely read national newspapers. So there are different sections and brackets of how much Cnooc spends. So if there are any procurements that are above 500,000, the regulation requires us to go to the public and source for the best candidate. So we source the best candidates from the print. That is, we normally put adverts on New Vision and Daily Monitor. The adverts run for 14 days. So I urge you all to keep glued to these newspapers because it's very important. We don't want you to miss an opportunity. And then there are also contracts or procurement requisitions that are below 500,000. That one we go for selective bidding. So selective bidding means we get to the database of PAU and we can select the bidders we are going to ask for EOIs. So pre-qualification, no company shall provide goods, works or services for petroleum activities unless it's on the national supplier database. So it is regulated by PAU that we cannot deal with any contractors or suppliers who are not registered. Because they're the regulators, we cannot go against this, or else they'll take out the license from Cnooc. So it is very mandatory that only the contractors we go to, even for pre-qualification, have to be registered on the national supply database. Yes, I know sometimes we go public bidding, like I said, bids above 500,000 is public bidding, but ensure, even in this public bidding, that when you're sending in your documents for pre-qualification, you're registered under the national supply database. We don't want you to waste your time sending us documents and yet you're not registered. We'll reject them and will not evaluate you. When you look on my right, there are ring-fenced goods and services, which was supposed to be answered by our representative from PAU, but I told him I have a slide for it so that people can really get to understand the ring-fenced services that are supposed to be provided by only Ugandan companies. We have transportation, we have security, we have foods and beverages, we have hotel accommodation and catering, we have human resource management, we have office supplies, we have fuel supply, we have land surveying, we have cleaning and forwarding services, we have crane hire, we have locally available construction materials, we have civil works, we have supply of locally available drilling and production materials. We have environmental studies and impact assessment. I think that's a very important point for you who raised the point. Those services are supposed to be done by Ugandan companies because we have the capability and we have all that it takes. Communication and information technology, that one, all the IT falls under that, and then waste management where possible. So these are the 16 ring-fenced services and goods supposed to be supplied by Ugandans. However, it doesn't stop you from also going for the others that are not listed here. These ones are majorly for Uganda because the regulator found it very important that since we're giving back to the Ugandan community and national content, it's very important to ring-fence some of the supplies and the services for only Ugandans. But if there's any that you can go for and you have the capabilities, it's free, you can go for them. Are we together? People seem to be very full. No one is even, it's very hard to talk when people have had lunch or breakfast. Yeah, okay. So that said, I'll just give you the procurement overview process. Expression of interest, I've already talked about that. I just want to let you know about the areas you look for is the legal and regulatory requirements, including national supply database registration, available resources, manpower, equipment, software. We look at relevant experience, the QHSE awareness. We look at financial capability, business continuity. We look at commitment to national content requirements. in line with the regulation. I think today this workshop is about national content, and you can see that national content can't run away from us. Every slide will have national content because we try and emphasize that national content is met. Yeah. Only vendors that have expressed willingness and have the above minimum requirements are invited for pre-qualification stage. So it is very important to have your financials in check. You have your books audited. You have a QHSE policy in place. You meet the national content requirements. That is the only way you can come to the pre-qualification stage. Because if you don't have this, you're wasting time. I think I've already talked about this, and the minimum requirements for screening where applicable. I think this is very clear. I talked about it in the previous slide. I'll just skip this one, but if you want to take pictures of it, please do. So this is basically quoted from the regulation. You can see it is R174, upstream petroleum. All this information can be got from the PAU website, so don't avoid going there. There's so much information you can pick up to help you as a vendor, as a contractor, as a supplier. So please make good use of that information to help you get the business. Moving forward, this is RFP, ITT, and RFQ. I think we all know all these words if we are contractors. So RFP is request for proposal, and ITT is intention to tender. RFP is request for quotation. So the standard RFP package shall entail the following. Listen, very important. So we have the cover letter, signed, fully signed, yeah? We normally send you documents and we want you to sign the cover letter. However, some people send back the document very blank and we don't know what is happening. Because we want to get certain information from you in terms of your location, your contact number. We want to see if you're an existing entity. But some of you return the document with no information. So it's very important when we send you the cover letter and we want some information from you, please give us the information that we need. Second one is instruction to bidders and appendix on the deviation and price structure form. When we send you these documents, we want you to fill them in. They're not just documents we send you for information. We send them for information, but we also need back the information. So it's only right for you to help us get the right information because it's going to help you win a bid. We normally send model contracts just to show you that if you get the contract, this is how the contract is going to look like. And model contracts normally have the terms and conditions of the contract, the price schedule, the payment terms. So if you get the model contract and you're in agreement with the payment terms, with the, maybe the terms and conditions of the contract, and maybe delivery schedule, it's only right for you to acknowledge by sending back and saying we're in agreement with the model contract. Sometimes we have bidders who don't, and then when we're going to contract, they say, but I can't handle delivering in 1 month. So it is very important for you to agree so that we can find a win-win situation. If you have any deviations, you can also set them across so that we see how to accommodate you. And then we also have the scope of work. We send you the scope of work. Some people send proposals and they don't know what the scope of work is. It's very important. When we send you this document, read the scope of work, understand what the project is about, so that it's going to help you send in your bid or your price. Because if you don't read the scope of work, you may come up with your bid and say, I forgot something. It's because you didn't read the scope of work. There are certain things we need in the scope of work to execute the project, but because you've not read it, you've not quoted for it. So it's very important, please make sure you read the scope of work, because that is the whole project cycle. Are we together? The national content schedule. Again, national content, very important. PAU stresses this point. You need to send us back the national content form. We send you these forms, we need you to fill it. If you're a third party, if you're a contractor and you want to use other joint ventures, this is where you fill in and say, I'm going to partner with so and so in the business. The upstream, okay, that's the regulation, we send it to you, some bits of it for you to read, and the standards, and then any other miscellaneous information is also sent to you. So managing tender clarification. I know you asked about something about clarification. So more clarification is going to easily and services on comparable basis. So yes, sometimes you come back to clarify and we accept that because we want you to understand the whole magnitude of the project. Clarification is allowed and it's very important because this is oil and gas. There are some technical scopes of work that maybe you don't understand and you need better understanding from the user. And the user being Cnooc Uganda. So if you come back for clarification, we'll definitely give it to you so that will help you put up the best bid to win the business. And then bulletin. A bulletin will be issued. So if there are any clarifications, we don't only send it to that contractor who has asked for clarification. We make sure we cut across and send it to every bidder. Whether you have not clarified or you have, if there's just one clarification, we make sure everyone gets the same information so that we get a comparable bid with the same clarification. We okay? This is basically the pre-qualification parameters. I don't know if you can see it clearly. For the legal bit of it, we'll need vendor information, legal existence, we'll need compliance, NSD, URA, NSSF, and national content. We will need to know that you don't have any disputes anywhere and your company is clean. We need ethics and anti-corruption. You're not supposed to be in any form of corruption. The legality, that is in terms of your legal in the country and you're operating. We also need your partnership and business corporations. And we also need the permits and licenses for you to operate in Uganda. That is the legal part of it. Then the technical part of it is we need your KHSE management system. We need your past experience. We need any relevant certificates. We need your manpower to show that you're going to execute the project in case you win the bid. We also need to know your organizational structure. We need to know that you have the right equipment. Organizational structure is something different. We just need to know you have the right equipment, the software, in case there are very technical aspects of the project. Client preference and track record, we need them. And then the workload, showing that yes, you have the right workload and you can execute. For the commercial and management, we'll need your financial status in terms of sending us your audited books of account for the past 3 years. We'll need business continuity to show that the business is alive and still continuing, because we don't want to give you a contract today and tomorrow you close. Yeah. Some of you ask for 50% of advance payment. If you give you our 50% and you disappear, it's not good for the business. Yeah. So we need to know that you have the business continuity in the country, that you exist. And then investment and value addition. We have the organizational structure, employment structure. We need to know that you employ Ugandans. Very important for national content. There are some people who employ people who are not Ugandan, maybe Eritreans, Chinese. We need to just know this information, because when we're sending reports to PAU, they need to know this kind of information. Because some of you say you're purely Ugandan, but your directors are not Ugandan. So it becomes a problem for us, yeah? And then your financial resources, because this is all sent in your audited books. We can see your financial resources, where you're getting your money from. We don't want companies doing money laundering. It's not allowed, yeah? And then policies and procedures. I think this is very important. So the bidders list, only picky shortlisted vendors are invited, yeah? So with the registration and national supply database, so after this stage, only shortlisted vendors are invited. Registration on national supply database, definitely. We demonstrated the financial capability, demonstrated their technical capability, have the respondent to all you've responded to all PQ questions, demonstrated clear national content plan, QHSE awareness and standards, timely PQ submission. That is very important, because if we send you these PQ documents, we want you to submit them on the deadline. Yeah. Then provided required supporting documents, adhere to legal and regulatory requirements. So this is important, key areas to consider. I think I already read most of them in my past slide, but I think this one has something more, including the pricing. So technical, health and safety and environment. Past experience, available resources, delivery methodology, price schedule, technical deviations, project organization structure, proportion for subcontracting, and then QA, QC procedure. So QA, QC is quality assurance and quality control procedures, and then certificates, ISO certificates. And then the legal, we need legal status, registration. So legal status and registration here, we need to know that you have offices, because I know very many people here have briefcase companies, yeah? Your companies in your briefcase, you move it everywhere. And I think when you're getting registered with PAU has to visit your premises, and they don't want to see you walking on Home Street and say, this is my company. They want to know you exist, they want to know you have an address, and in case of anything, we can always find you at your address. So I'll come back to a point where the 16 ring-fenced services and supplies for Ugandan companies, what PA wants is, these days what Cnooc follows is, your company has to be classified as a Ugandan company. So right now, if I tell you to go on the NSD and check if your company is classified as a Ugandan company, there are so many of you who are not classified. And now, the regulation in Cnooc says, even when the goods are ring-fenced for Ugandan companies, and you've given us all the documents showing your Ugandan companies, we have to go back to the PA website and confirm if you're classified as Ugandan. Some of you hide behind, I am Ugandan, but then the directors are not Ugandans. So when you ask PAU for classification, they can't give you, they don't classify as Ugandan. So it's very important. If I'm going to do IT services, I would need to know that your company is classified. So every one of you has to go back to PAU and get assurance that you're classified as Ugandan. So the things they look out for is the board resolution when you're opening up bank accounts. Some of you are operating and saying you're Ugandan, but when we pay you money, the money flies to America, where the owners are. And PAU is trying to control that. PAU wants, if it's a Ugandan company, we're giving back value addition to Ugandans. So it's very important, and that's the only way they can classify you as Ugandan.
Sorry for interjecting about that issue of having directors who are not Ugandan. We know that companies are legal entities and persons. When you register it in Ugandan Bureau of the Registrar's Office, it has got its status as a Ugandan company. And of course, some companies have investors who are foreign. And the most important thing is on this national content is to have a lot of empowerment of the local staff. If the CEO, for example, is Ugandan, and most of the staff are, unless where they are technical skills that they need to get in expertise, which is also provided in labor law. So where is the problem having that registered company? For example, I might call it ABCD Uganda Limited.
Okay.
It pays its taxes here.
Yes.
There is a way they repatriate profits to those countries if they are at all doing business. Of course, you can't come in as a foreign investor when there's no that provision of taxation.
Okay, absolutely. I understand where you're coming from. So what I said is
normally PAU does the background check. It doesn't matter whether you have investors who are foreigners, but PAU is the last man to say what they want because they are the sole fact of judge. They will come to you, they will ask for documentation from you about the company, and whatever documents you present to them will be the basis of them classifying you as Ugandan or not Ugandan. So it doesn't mean if they classify you as Ugandan, you can't do business. You can still do business, but then sometimes it will affect your legality in doing business for the ring-fenced businesses for Uganda. So it's always good for you to check with PAU. PAU normally go to almost all the contractors who ask them to come and verify them. So they come for a verification process. They'll ask you for so many documents. If you give them the right documents and they are contented that you're a Ugandan company, then they'll classify you as Ugandan. But I understand the point you're saying. It's more of the understanding of PAU and how your operations are going on in Uganda. Have I answered you?
You have answered me, but I'm not. If the law is not clear on what the Ugandan company is, and it has to be decided by a regulator.
No, what I'm very sure what the regulator does is they understand the law.
Yes.
And for them to come to the basis of classifying a Ugandan company as Ugandan, they have read the law, they have consulted lawyers, and they have also made background checks in different aspects of the economy. So it is them to decide after they have looked into your documents and made sure that so-and-so company is Ugandan.
Maybe I can add on to that.
Let's get a bit more.
Allow me to add on to that. I think your confusion is the aspect of directors being non-Ugandan or Ugandan. Now, yes. Now, the classification of how a Ugandan company is made lies in 4 areas. Number 1, that company has to be incorporated in Uganda. That's the first aspect. Whether you're Ugandan or non-Ugandan, first thing is you have to be incorporated in Uganda, registered with URSB. Number 2, you need to be employing at least 70% Ugandans. At least 70%.
But when you look at the legal and regulation, you can see some of the things that Polycarp has talked about, the tax and NSSF compliance, the physical office address. I think he has talked about that. So I'll go to unpriced commercial, where there's national content plan, there's commercial deviations, there's financial status, there's insurance coverage, there's tax clearance, non-bankruptcy, there's source of financing, there's joint venture and subcontracting. So the other aspect is the price. This is very important. Lump sum, unit rates, which is rate schedule, reimbursable costs, tax applicability, and payment terms. I think, like I said, we send you model contracts which have all these. So if you agree and accept our payment terms or any other conditions in the contract, then it can win you a bid. So key areas, this is a key tender shortfalls to avoid. 1 is do not submit generic tender responses. Match responses to questions asked. Like I said when I was presenting, we send you certain documents and we need answers from you, but you people just send back the document when it is blank. I don't know if you think we are going to assume that your office is at Serena or somewhere, so we need that kind of information. And then separate proposals, especially price from unpriced commercial proposals. We normally send instructions to bidders where we say your bids are supposed to be separated into 3 different packages. Package number 1 is the technical proposal. Package number 2 is the unpriced commercial. So the unpriced commercial has all the documents that we ask for in terms of your physical address, the cover letter, the conformity form and all that. And then the third one is your price proposal, should be separated from anything else. So those are 3 packages: technical, unpriced commercial proposal, and then the price proposal. So, and then there's complete the bid proposal and submit on time.
There are some people who submit bid proposals after the deadline. Most times we use 2 p.m. as our deadline for bid submission. If you bring your bids at 10 past 2, we'll reject them. We need you to adhere to the timeline. And then provide supporting documents, proof where necessary. Where it is not clear, don't assume, seek clarification. Like I said, clarifications are very important for the project and also very important for you as a bidder to win a bid. Confidentiality must be observed at all times. We don't want people conniving with different bidders and say, let's go and win a bid at Cnooc. We'll get you. So we don't want anyone to connive. Do your bid, the other also does their bid and submit. And then you pray for each other to win. Alternative proposals, deviations are welcome, provided they don't change the intent of scope of work. We allow alternative bids, but when you're sticking to the same scope of work. Proposal documents.
Maybe you may need to clarify what that means. What exactly does that mean?
So, alternative proposals and deviations. So sometimes we ask you for, let's say, a Dell laptop, yeah? And then for you, you're proposing to give me a Lenovo. And the quotation for a Dell will be different from the quotation from a Lenovo. So it is allowed, you can give me an alternative proposal and say, me as me, I cannot give you Dell, but I can give you Lenovo. So, alternative. I might have given you a price schedule where I have specified and I say, I need a Dell 15-inch, but then you have a Lenovo 15-inch, which is much better from a Dell. That is allowed as an alternative proposal. But I'll get to a place where I'll need you, when you're doing that, you need to show that you've deviated from what we have asked for, but you've given us an alternative. So that when we go back, we know they've given us an alternative. Okay. Proposals, documents need to be submitted as instructed, both hard and soft copy format. So we normally ask for soft copy of the technical proposal and then the unpriced commercial, because technical proposals are quite big. We don't want you to bring a whole ream of paper in terms of proposal. It will be hard for us to read. So what we want you to do is put it on maybe a flash drive or a disk and then send it to us. And then also the unpriced proposal, when you're putting your documents together, send them to us. What you only need in hard copy, I'll stress it again, what we need in hard copy is the price proposal. Because price proposals are normally maybe 5 pages maximum. Are we moving on well? Yes. Okay. So this is a sample pricing structure. Sample pricing structure. This I just picked one from one of the things we've been doing. That's a tax compliance, tax advisory, transfer policing documents, and tax due diligence on time spent basis. So this is the kind of way we send you our price proposals, where we have the description, we have the consultant's name, we have the unit of measure, estimated time input for 3 years, unit rate, and amount. So what we want you to do normally is, when we send you something of this kind, fill it in the way it is. Which brings me to the next slide. So this is a simple price conformity form. So when we send you this, we want you to conform in the next form. So the conformity, basically, you see where there is quoted and not quoted, or reasons for deviation. You're not supposed to fill in any prices of this. Your price goes on this form, where you see unit rate in US dollars or amount in US dollars. This conformity form is just for you to say, I have quoted. And when you quote, you need to indicate it whether it's quoted or not quoted. It brings it back to the point where it's a Dell or a Lenovo. If we have not quoted for a Dell, you say not quoted. And then reasons for not quoting is, I'm giving you an alternative. Are we together? Makes myself clear? Yes. Another thing is, you're not supposed to alter the pricing structure back here.
you're not supposed to alter. Here, yes, we have a senior associate. If we send you this, I know maybe you have different names you're calling people. We don't need that. We just need what we have sent you. Don't come and add another row and say, I'm giving you number 6. We don't want that. Just send us exactly what we have sent you in our price schedule. If you alter, then it's going to be a compliance issue. And when you have a compliance issue, it leads to disqualification. You okay? Brings me to my final bit of the slides. I think I'm finalizing. So, contractors' non-compliance issues. I think this is very important. The first one I just talked about was the last one. Altering the price structure and returning the price when you altered. So when you see here, the risk involved is disqualification. So bidders are encouraged to use the technical and commercial deviation form. If you have any deviations in the technical proposal, there are forms we send you where you're supposed to write your deviations. If you've diverted from something, that form will help you. Just fill in that form and say, I've diverted. I am not quoting this, I am quoting this. Are we together? Sorry, just allow me to go back here. Price conformity. You see, we've given you estimated time and input. Those figures should remain the same. Don't say, my people can do it in 2 hours. And you put 2. Just leave it the same way it is. And all you have to do is just put your price and populate and add, multiply by that. Just leave it the way it is. Don't take out the documents that we send you. You okay? Let me move back to this. I was still explaining that point. Indicate the reason for deviation in that form that we send you, or in the conformity form that I showed you before. If you have not quoted for it, then indicate. And then failure to honor the national content commitments. That regulation is regulation number 9 on the regulation of PAU. That would lead to the discontinuation of the project, which is very harmful, and then termination of the contract, because we send these forms to PAU when we are sending for approvals. So I'll just tell you how this is done. For projects above 500,000, all the national content forms that you fill in as the contractors or the suppliers are sent to PAU. So PAU looks at them and then approve. If they find that your national content forms are don't have a lot of information, they'll ask you for more information. And we don't reach to that stage where when we send to PAU, all we have to get from them is an objection for us to move on. Yeah? So bidders must adhere to these requirements during both the PQ and RFP stage to ensure that national content commitment forms is completed with clear information. So add the clear information of the people you're going to use to execute the project. Yeah? And submission of bids. So the risk involved here is disqualification. Bidders frequently breach instructions to bidders by improperly packaging their submissions, leading to disqualification, e.g. mixing price proposals with technical. Where would you put your price proposal in a technical evaluation, in a technical proposal? Also mixing up the unpriced commercial element. So, like I said, for you to submit a proposal, there are 3 different categories. First one is the technical part of it. Second one is the unpriced part, commercial part of it. And the third one is the price proposal itself. So please separate these documents. Don't bundle them in one folder. Separate them. If possible, put them in different envelopes before you deliver them to Cnooc. The company stresses the importance of submitting bid extensions and clarification requests at least 3 days before the bid closing date to align with established standards. So this is a very important point. If you feel you cannot put up a bid in the number of days provided to you by Cnooc, normally what we do is we give bidders at least 10 days, 10 working days Some of you say 2 weeks because you count the weekends, but for Cnooc it's 10 working days. So we give you a period of 10 working days to submit your proposals. But if you feel you cannot submit your proposals within 10 days, please, if you want an extension, ask for it at least 3 days before submission. Some of you come on the last day of submission and say, I'm not ready, can you extend? We cannot extend at that point. So make sure at least 3 days before the deadline is when you ask for the extension. Then also raising deviations at contracting stage. Yeah. So this will the risk involved is revoking the contract and disqualification from future biddings. Bidders are reminded to adhere to the instructions to bidders, noting that any deviation from contract terms should be raised during the RFP stage. Raising deviations during the contract review causes delays and is deemed unacceptable by the company. So if I give you a contract, and in the contract you see that there's something that is lacking, and then you say, no, there's something that I want to change here. It is not allowed at contracting, because if you do that, we'll revoke the contract and disqualify you from future bidding. So if you have any deviations, it's very important to make them at the RFP stage and help the process go on as it's supposed to go. Point number 7, acknowledgement of participating in bidding. So the risk involved here is disqualification from future participation. Bidders are obligated, per instructions to bidders, to acknowledge receipt of RFP package within 3 days, confirming participation or providing justification for decline. Timely communication of non-participation assists the company in seeking alternatives, but some bidders, despite this initial acknowledgement, fail to submit bids by deadline, causing challenges and operational hindrances for the company. So whenever we send you RFPs, there's a document that is Form 3 that we want you to acknowledge, and we do that within 3 days. So you acknowledge that I've received the documents and I'm going to participate in the bid. It is very important for the company to know this, that, okay, I've sent out 10 bidders and all the 9 have confirmed participation, because sometimes we have a challenge. You've not said you're going to participate, and then at the end of the day, or at the end of the submission deadline, you come and say, my bid is here. We need to plan better for the procurement process. And then also we have some bidders who acknowledge I will participate, and then at deadline, they don't show up. That is a challenge, because it causes challenges to the company, it causes delays, because you have to find alternative bidders. And if you do that more than 2 times, more than 3 times, then we shall discontinue from participating in bidding with Cnooc. So please take that point very clearly. We don't want you to acknowledge for more than 3 times and you don't participate. I'm almost done, don't worry. Maybe I've become boring. I see everyone is not nodding their heads. So failure to meet timelines, contract schedule. So the risk involved in this one is impact on the project schedule. So there's need to inform Cnooc on time for any issues you may encounter in executing the contract. We may give you 1 month to execute, but then you reach maybe the 20th day and you can't execute. Please inform Cnooc early enough, because we have liquidated damages that may hinder your payment at the end of it. So if you give you a contract of, let's say, $100,000 and you don't deliver within the period specified in the contract, there is a 0.01 liquidated damage that we shall charge you when we are paying you, and that money remains for Cnooc. So if you oversee or project that you're not going to execute in the time allocated for you, please inform Cnooc early enough, and then we'll see how we can accommodate you. This is very important. Expiry of contractor subscription on the NSD. So this leads to disqualification from the Cnooc supplier list. So we need to monitor. We need to monitor and ensure timely renewal of our NSD, National Supplier Database certificates. These certificates expire after 3 years. After 3 years. So it is very important for you to check your certificates and ensure they're up to date, because if at the time we are dealing with you it's expired, then I'm afraid we cannot contract with you anymore. So just make sure that when you submit documents, your expiry date or your certificate is still up to date. Last one is a discrepancy between conformity form and price offer. So some people on the price conformity, I'll go back to it. Let me just read these instructions and I'll go back to it. So the risk involved is compliance issues leading to disqualification. And then bidders are issued with a conformity form to confirm all the items have been quoted for and to confirm any deviations. I showed you the conformity form. Instructions given under the conformity form include the discrepancies usually noted include monitoring the price in the conformity form. Sorry, mentioning the price in the conformity form. Like I said, that conformity form has nowhere you can put your prices. It has only quoted or not quoted and deviations. So there's no way you can fix your price in that conformity form. Confirming the items are all quoted, and when prices are opened, the price structure has been altered to suggest otherwise, e.g. quantities, new items, and added or removed items. I'll go back to the conformity form just for a minute. So that point was pointing at this conformity form. Yeah? Some people alter the conformity form and this price structure. These documents are totally different. One says pricing structure, the other says price conformity form. I know someone may say price structure and then they see price conformity. Then they want to fix their prices there. This form is only to confirm that you've quoted. And if you quote and say, I'm going to give you printing, okay, let's say meals. I see 7 here. They need to be 7 meals. When you're giving us your price schedule, don't add here and say 10 meals. Maybe 2 meals are for the gatekeeper or 1 is for I don't know who. We want 7. 7 should remain 7. And then right here, quoted. If you have no deviations, just write quoted and that's all. Let's bring that to my end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for the sharing.
I'm here to share about the Kingfisher Development Area. We commonly call it KFDA. Safety measures and the key ways in which you can strengthen safety within our operations. My name is Cnooc Sesanga and I'm a safety engineer with Cnooc Uganda Limited. But I also happen to be one of the key leaders of the Young and Growing Safety and Health Association of Uganda. So there's a bit of information that you can take in. Within the Cnooc, international Cnooc, globally, with all the many business units in Uganda, Nigeria, Iraq, and so many other places, there is a safety culture. This safety culture is embedded within the international oil and gas producers' requirements. Within our safety culture, one of the key core values related to health, safety, and environment, HSE, is safety being first. And as you've heard from our previous presenters, you could have noted the common statement or word, safety. And whereas most of us, being Ugandan, are not really familiarized with this and are not probably giving as much attention to it, we're not born with it from childhood, unlike the international companies. Safety first, environment utmost, people-oriented, and equipment integrity. That has a lot attached to it. But there are 5 don'ts, and those will guide the next discussion. Do not act before the risks are identified. You are aware of financial risks. I'm here to share about the safety-related risks. Do not act before safety measures are in place. Do not act before the safety equipment is provided. Do not act before the work environment is safe. And lastly, do not act before the required safety skills are acquired. So this is going to form the background or the backbone to much of my discussion. We would like our dear contractors to be contractors onboarded to think about the management system perspective. In many cases, for a common Ugandan employee or employer, you want to think about safety in view of what we call PPE. What do we put on personally? So each time someone talks about safety, first thing that comes to your mind is the hard hat, which you call the helmet. And then you think about some sort of coverall and maybe some shoes. And for most of us in Uganda, that is how we define safety. But it's a lot more than that. And within the oil and gas industry, you get to appreciate the uniqueness of the attention given to the subject of safety. So we emphasize a management system rather than just a one-off kind of show for you to be able to sustainably implement these requirements, but also competitively participate in the pre-qualification stages. My colleague Michael just told you about the procurement processes. Right from the pre-qualification stage, there is an attention to the area of safety. HSC is a broader sense, but I'll speak about safety in view of today's subject. We want you to think about the requirements that have been provided within the pre-qualification documents as far as preparation is concerned and as far as implementation is concerned. Many a times we want to tick the box. Do you have this? And say yes. Have you provided this? And say yes. Just, to tick the box and probably demonstrate. Now, when you come to the actual implementation, that's where the rubber hits the road. And you do not have a system working for you. So what that means is that you're going to now start trying to find survival techniques. You just called some, fresh graduate, and you have this, and then this person just messes up a lot of things. So we need you to think about a management system. So contractor HSC management is very, very key to the operations within the oil and gas industry. But we also want you to think about how do you review your performance as far as HSC is concerned. How do you ensure that the personnel that you've employed, competent as they might be or not, are actually able to deliver the kind of requirements that have been set out by Cnooc. We want you to think about at implementation stage, after you've probably gone through and now you're mobilizing your personnel and equipment to go to the work site. We need you to consider the key requirements that are required at operational stage. We have a checklist that normally guides our contractors, and this has now very specific requirements for the work that you're going to do. And this will guide you as far as preparation and planning is concerned. Many a times our local content is faced with an upheaval task. You're heading to site, but then you do not have the basic requirements. And then we say, Cnooc, you've complicated things. This is too much for us. We are not used to this kind of thing. And yet there was time for planning. So at the end of the project, we expect you to do an assessment of your own performance as far as HSC is concerned. But also plan for your equipment management. There's a lot that comes with it. So we need you to think about project planning and implementation. And we want you to think about the requirements for HSC within the industry. The International Association for Oil and Gas Producers has set out some bare minimum 10 life-saving rules. And why I said this is an internationally regulated project is because that's what it is. What you find applicable to Cnooc is most likely what we require within the Tilenga project and outside Uganda. So you find that there is a common denominator as regarding to safety requirements. Working in a confined space area, I think those that are familiar with that subject, you might know what I mean. In an area that is probably out of the required oxygen for sustainable work, you're required to have key requirements put in place as far as permitting is concerned. Working at height, meaning a level of 1.5 meters and more, 4 feet and above, you're required to have specific requirements put in place. Work authorization, there are works that will require a permit to work system. And you need a trained person that will guide you as far as permit to work processes are concerned. You might be the business owner, but then this is probably not your specialty. Please try and hire a competent person. We have mechanical lifting requirements, and these also will have specific requirements within the oil and gas scheme. Are unique, and the kind of what you call hazards or risks that you might be exposed to will be unique. And if you send somebody that has maybe an underlying ailment, health condition, should there be any complication, and God forbid a life lost, this is an outstanding and extremely unbearable situation within the oil and gas. What happens in Uganda will actually make news all over the world. So it's very, very important that the personnel that we send to work on an oil and gas project have undergone what we call medical fitness to work testing. And the medical team will advise you on whether this person is actually fit to do this kind of work. You can ask questions at the end. So we have various categories of hazards that you might encounter within the oil and gas industry. This just paints a picture of some of the hazardous situations that you have to work with or work within. And we need you to be cognizant of this, because from an employer perspective, when we require you to have a health and safety management system, it looks like a whole waste of time and maybe resources.
and you want to spend as little as you can. But what you normally forget is that this forms the backbone of your relationship with the Cnooc regulator, Cnooc company. And should you have failures on the side of safety, then that will cost you a project. Because the impact goes beyond just our localized area of work. And some of you have probably heard of some of the incidents within the oil and gas sector, and how you've dashed, to popularize this, and how can this happen. So it's part of the reasons why you have the national content development programs that are set out to support you. Why? Because the areas that sometimes are given least attention are the most critical part of your operation. The area of safety is one of those. So we need you to be cognizant of this, among others that you might encounter during your operations. We need you to appreciate the kind of industry where you're operating, and also think about how you actually better prepare your own staff, the project team, but also putting up the required systems. This gives you, in a nutshell, the basic minimum requirements that you can expect within a work site or work area. At inception, you'll be required to provide a project HSE plan. This gives you the overall perspective about the project that you're going to undertake. Even if your project is limited to simply delivering a training, there are HSE requirements that will apply. So at planning stage, we need you to think about how you are best positioned to execute this work in the safest way possible. So this I'll just run through just for your own cognition. We need you to think about high-risk operations. There are high-risk operations that have been, I've used the word gazetted within the industry and require unique attention. We need you to think about Cnooc standards. I've talked to you about the 5 don'ts, but you also need to think about the PPE requirements. Think about having meetings as contractor project team. We talk about toolbox meetings. These are quite regular and routine. They are not for granted. It's a practice. We need you to think about reporting as far as safety is concerned and your performance. Think about risk management, risk assessment. Think about incident management and plan for emergency preparedness. We need you to consider training your staff and not just having an HSE officer, but you talk about the entire project team. We need you to plan for how you conduct your own assessments, inspection for your work sites, for the equipment that you want to use, and the general inspection. But also, not forgetting that there are international and national legislations as far as HSE is concerned. We need you to consider this even as we plan to do work in Cnooc. As I conclude, these are part of the 10 high-risk operations within the Cnooc operations that we need you to plan uniquely for and involve specialists or consultants as much as possible. We have hazard control and warning programs, and we hope that you implement this within your own company cultures. That you find restrictions and say the speed limit, for instance, is 30. There is a reason why it is 30. And we hope that you encourage your teams to try and work within these conditions. Finally, this is minimum PPE requirements. There are international standards on how to provide suitable personal protective equipment. This is a common lapse and gap amongst our local providers. They talk about personal protective equipment, then you run down Chikubo or Naukabo, and you do not have an idea about the standards for the PPE you're providing. So it's very, very important that we think about HSC management, but most critically, the management of safety within the industry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for
Enoch took you through the QHSC. Now, at the end of this workshop, the main question is, can you prepare a winning bid? He took you through the entire process. Now, at this point in time, for example, if I gave you an opportunity that this is the opportunity, can you prepare a winning bid that can get you that contract? So, my work is simple. I have only 3 slides, majorly 3 slides. I'll present the opportunities, you look through them, and what happens in 2024 is entirely up to you. Is that okay? So, like I said, the presentation is brief, just an introduction, the opportunities, then the Q&A, and then we conclude. The opportunities we are presenting to you are basically for 2024, but you may see some opportunities that may even be coming this month. So, just take a keen note. Even the moderator, you may take interest in this. We never know. Maybe here, then tomorrow you see another coming out. So, yes. Then during Michael's presentation, he did state that the procurements that are above 500,000, those we do public bidding. Those below 500,000 we do selective. That has been mentioned in the opportunities, so you'll know where you fall. Okay, the first slide. Oh yes, it's 500 US dollars, not Uganda shillings. 500,000.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, the first slide has 10 opportunities. Number 1, we have the KF, that's Kingfisher Drilling Camp Kitchen and Dining Hall Upgrade. Next year, of course, we anticipate that probably there will be more people using the camp. So this has been, the kitchen has been planned to be upgraded. So that's the number 1 opportunity. The procurement method is selective bidding. Number 2, installation of a water treatment plant with RO skid. This, the plan is to install it at the drilling camp and then later shift it to the CPF area. This is a little, I won't say complicated, I'll say it's a bit technical. That is why it is public bidding. So you may think about it. If you're a local contractor and you feel you may have the capacity to do it, you may consider forming a JV with a company that may have probably more financial muscle to take it on. Number 3 is there's someone who talked of who does firefighting in the room. Yes. Number 3 I think is maybe for you. Firefighting truck, boats overhaul, and corrective maintenance. That is selective bidding. Number 4, solar power project for Kisinja Camp. Kisinja Camp has been using mainly diesel generators. So the plan is to install a solar power there. Number 5, anyone who's doing tax here? Tax consultant? No one? Okay, that is number 5. Tax compliance, tax advisory, transfer pricing, documentation, URA audit support, and any other tax support as required. Method procurement, selective bidding. Number 6, this is social impact mitigation training and assessments. Number 7, procurement and installation of furniture, appliances, kitchen and fitness equipment, and any other fittings at the CPF structure. Permanent camp and any other facilities for the production-related operations. This is also a big one. It is also, method of procurement is public bidding. Number 8, supply and installation of 40 air conditioner units. Number 9, this is IT related. There's some, I think this one from IT around here.
Yeah, MIS.
Yes, this is IT related. Implementing a modular data center at Kingfisher, including a fabricated modular container data center, data storage appliance with at least, that is I think 180 TB usage storage, and the rest is very complicated. That is hyper something. I think that if you're in that space of IT, I believe you understand that. I'll leave that to you. Number 10, procurement of servers and storage systems for production and field information management system. That is still also IT related. Method of procurement, look at the two. It's both public bidding. Public bidding, you know, above 500,000 USD. So those are the first 10. So we'll go to the next batch. Number 11, this is implement archive and office asset management system, including office asset register and asset tagging hardware and software. Procurement method, selective bidding. Number 12, this is the, do we have anyone doing supplies of vehicles, posters? None. Okay. This is a leasing of 10 brand new vehicles to provide personnel transportation in support of company business operations in and out of Kingfisher and Kisinja. These to comprise of 5 station wagons, 3 double cabins, and 1 14-seater van, and 1 30-seater bus. Method of procurement, public bidding. Number 13, office furniture and accessories. That is easy. Number 14, well integrity services. We do annual checks on the wells to ensure that they're not leaking and they're literally tight. That is for you in case you're in that space. Method of procurement, selective bidding. There's number 15 there, provision of equipment purchase, chemical reagents and consumables, equipment service, calibration, installation, running, testing, and training of personnel. Someone mentioned that there are chemicals here. Yes. That would be an opportunity for you. Number 16, Eagle rig transfer. This is a carry forward from last year. Method of procurement is selective bidding. The rig is being moved from one of the sites, being taken to UPIC to be more or less being used for study purposes. So, method of procurement, selective bidding. Number 7, purchase of books for the law library. As you know, we try and we do some work with other agencies. Now, the legal team feels that the law library is lacking in certain books, so they want to purchase for them some books. And that is number 17. Number 18 has 2 lots. Lot 1, provision of comprehensive training services covering legal and commercial and financial trainings. Lot 2, provision of comprehensive training services covering human resource, management, and leadership-related trainings. Method of procurement is public bidding. This is majorly for the staff at Cnooc. So if you're in this space, you could think about this. Number 19, there was a question that came up about what are we doing in the space of environment. Now, the next procurements, there are approximately 5, are all in the environment space. Number 19, regulatory compliance audit on KFDA operations against the KFDA Environmental Social Impact Assessment Certificate. I think Bintu talked about that, remember? Yes. Method of procurement, selective bidding. Then there's number 20, the mandatory environmental compliance audit and quarterly compliance monitoring of the FDA Asia. Still also environment space. 21, environmental campaigns such as weed, green, and low carbon week. Method procurement, selective bidding. Now this, look at the time frame, December. So this may be coming out even, like I said, even tomorrow or next week. So you need to strategize and see how to partake this if you have the capacity. Number 22, quarterly clinic equipment maintenance, gas monitoring equipment, environment monitoring equipment, calibration and maintenance. Also method of procurement, selective bidding. Number 23, adaptive management of emerging biodiversity issues. This is also still in the environment space. Method of procurement, public bidding. So all those are 5 procurements in the environment space. So don't say that also you're not doing anything in the environment space. There's a lot, at least, that we're doing and a lot we're planning to do as of next year. Number 24, integrated fire and oil spill response services, method of procurement, public bidding. 25, security camp renovation. 26, biodiversity monitoring. 27, consumables and spare parts for warehouse section, method of procurement, public bidding. 28, maintenance and labor services for the warehouse section. 29, integrated infield route survey, method of procurement, selective bidding. 31, Mr. Moderator, community supply agreement programs.
That one we shall get it.
32, I had someone who was in heavy equipment. Who was that? Heavy equipment hiring, there's a program there. Heavy equipment machine operators training and certification. Method of procurement, selective bidding. Number 33, knowledge transfer initiatives, method of procurement, selective bidding. Last but not least, the vocational skills development program. This is also an opportunity. The Secretary was in training here. She talked about training of youths. Yes, this is an opportunity for you. So, and remember, method of procurement is public bidding. So that means you're competing with everyone. So, in a nutshell, those are the opportunities we have that are upcoming at Cnooc. So with those few words, allow me to stop there. Yes, you want to add?
Please, please. You can use this. So my colleague Polycarp has talked about public bidding and selective bidding. So we have some services that are really very technical. That whether we have some services that are really technical, that whether we go public bidding, we can't get. Okay, let me phrase it this way. We have some budgets that are below $500,000 US. But because of their technical aspect, we cannot only do selective bidding, we also go public bidding. Do I make myself clear? Some of them are below $500,000 US, but because on the supply database, we don't have so many people who can do it. Maybe procurement is about $300,000 US, but you'll find it on public bidding. So don't think because we have come for public bidding, it's about 100,000. Just package your proposal very well to win the bid.
Thank you very much. I am going to give preference to 2 participants.
I mean, oil and gas. Yeah, yes, yeah. There are so many challenges that come along with procurement processes. What parameters are you putting in place, mechanisms and systems to ensure that fair and justice prevails during the procurement processes?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Then the other is about the safety. Yeah, it's about the safety. You talked a lot. It was quite impressive. However, I just think that there is a correlation between environment and social issues. And it appeared like there was nothing that came out clear about social aspects. Okay. Like for example, if we look at the safety of the staff, it's not necessarily about the machines, about the work area. Maybe we could talk about even HIV/AIDS because the number of the staff that you are employing is quite big. I've had a chance to implement some program with hydropower, And we actually realize that it goes beyond the safety.
Your point is made, madam.
Yes, just one other example. And then I also wanted to say something, because I saw this in many sites. The food which is normally provided to the staff lacks nutrition, okay? Lacks nutrition, and that also compromises the safety.
Is that an observation or an assumption? Because I do eat in the camps quite often. And there is everything. Actually, there is a variety more than what you people may be eating.
I have been in the camp also. I was in Cnooc.
Oh, no, you're giving to another industry.
No, I'm just giving an example, please.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just thinking, I don't know what goes on, but it's just a scenario that I think could be happening somewhere.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Your point is made. Give the...
My question is relative to the refinery which you mentioned. You say that Cnooc intends to build a refinery. My question here is, can Cnooc throw more light with regards to the location of this refinery, timelines with regards to the construction and the expected commencement date when the refinery is expected to start production? My second question is with regards to the conformity form on the pricing sheet on the tender. Now, my expectation is that this conformity form is going to be designed the same with the actual pricing sheet. In the course of filling quoted on this conformity form, if a tenderer fails for by the error of omission, try to put quoted on any of the items, does it lead to non-conformancy?
Okay, thank you.
Or not?
Your point is made,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Opportunity. My name is Eddie Sandembiru. I'm from the ICT sector. My question goes to Michael. In his presentation, he mentioned that some of the requirements that are required are needed for the jobs, things like past experience and financial capability. Now, my worry is oil and gas sector being a new industry in this country. Where do you leave the new companies if you're asking for past experience and the financial muscle being that huge? So maybe you need to also give an opportunity to the new companies by lowering some of these expectations that you're forwarding to us. I thank you.
Thank you.
Cnooc. Coming from the artistic side of things, I'm just wondering.
Maybe you identity first?
I'm Stephen Lubegama under Mutebaka Ventures.
Okay.
I'm wondering, many of us Africans, we are known for not reading documents, signing documents, not understanding documents. May I know what that AI art above Cnooc Uganda Limited is? What does it mean?
Which AI do you mean?
That artificial intelligence artwork above Cnooc
Okay, this
Uganda
one?
Limited. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I thank you.
I have small things to ask about. One is about information desk, whether you have it, whether I can access information in case I need anything at your offices.
Okay.
Something I expected, which I didn't hear from any of the presentations, is CSR.
Okay.
Because I was expecting the projects you have for giving back to the community. Okay. So that's why I was expecting some opportunities like drilling boreholes, maybe constructing some classrooms, etc.
Thank you. Yes.
I'm Prince Ignia Igulu Mutevaka, CEO Mutevaka Ventures. There has been an element of the financial muscle as far as procurement is concerned. Here we come with a new item as far as local content is concerned, whereby joint venturism is anticipated at 48%, whereas the muscle will not be to that tune. Because when you talk of 48% shares, it means you have to have the capacity of 48% worth input. Will that really seduce to the qualification?
Okay, your point is made.
Partner at Javan Capital. My question regards
Yeah, capital does capital.
Yeah, we do capital, we do tax, we do advisory in that space, yes.
There's some opportunity they had announced
I
for
did.
you.
I did see that. Now, just want to find out your payments.
Okay.
Do you have advance payment guarantees? Do you pay upfront for the contractors? If so, what percentage?
Okay.
If not, so that people can galvanize this financial muscle to get on with the procurement. Thank you.
Engineer Arthur Ayibsiwe. I represent all-in-one engineering. We do civil works and transportation as well. Here, my concerns are two. Actually, number one, already the people in Chukube were somehow affected last time. We've witnessed an environment where, like, let me talk about supply. Assume the Chinaman comes, let's say he wants to build here, he goes to Rera, buys sand, puts fuel, reaching there he frauds. Now let's assume that all cost is 1 million shillings. So at the end of the day, he says, I have tons and tons of supply for sand. Now remember, behind he spent 1 million shillings. Here we will tell you that I'm giving 950,000. So at the end of the day, you run up and down, Tom and John and everybody, you cannot hit that. Because practically, he did that. And you also as a supplier, you have to follow the same procedure. Now, at the end of the day, you hear the notes, or the representation says, Ugandans don't qualify. Okay? At the end of the day, the same contract is given to a fellow Chinese. I'm sorry to use the Chinese, because they are the one I've seen.
You are at liberty.
Yes, yes.
But,
so at the end of the day, the contract is given to a fellow Chinese, and this fellow is being paid 1.something million shillings. Yet for you, you were hustling below the estimate. Number one. I don't know how.
Maybe just let me be certain that the Cnooc team has understood the question.
And it so happened last time.
I personally have not understood it because you've used analogies. Can you explain? Can you just ask your question direct? Be specific.
My question says, we have put, or they have showed us the works that can be done by the local companies.
Yes.
Okay. Here is that I'm a local company, and I've been given a privilege of doing that work, but in one way or another, I'm disqualified because of the rates. How is that these people underestimate sometimes?
Okay.
Because of their we are all in Uganda, so...
Okay, the point is now got.
Yeah, you've got it.
Maybe they think that there could be preference of non-nationals in terms of value.
The requirements. You people, the requirements are too many. I'll refer to the president. He was addressing investors 2 days ago. One is putting up a factory of manufacturing bicycles. Does that person require a PhD? Now here my question is, here we have a number of key players in the procurement system. If I'm all-in-one, if you want to know about all-in-one, consult URSP.
Okay.
1. 2, there is URA, there is PPDA. Already I would have given in my qualifications or requirements through your database.
Thank you very much. Your point is made.
Thank you.
We have stories or even have issues of Cnooc mostly favoring their Chinese counterparts, especially when it comes to these technical works. With technical works, I'm also talking about the drilling project. We're talking about directional drilling, logging, wireline, those things. If you look at the Cnooc project, I think almost everything is being done by Chinese companies. And then that brings me to the next point. I saw well integrity, and personally among our joint venture partners, I saw well integrity, and according to some of the joint venture partners, we can be able to do this. But should we be brave enough to put in our bid, given the history that Cnooc prefers their own people? And even, is it even really available? Because from what we've been hearing, this may be done by either Cnooc or Welltech from Cosil.
Okay, thank you. Your point is made.
Me, I am actually very appreciative. Sorry. I'm very appreciative to what these guys have been presenting. What relays my fears is where this young man said that they are actually nowhere. For me, that's an opportunity. If you say there are opportunities, but you guys are nowhere even. Is that what you said? You said there are many opportunities at Cnooc in Uganda which you need to offer. According to what you said, actually, you said there are so many achievements, but still you haven't reached anywhere. You haven't actually achieved as much as you want. Is that what you said? So I wanted to array these guys' fears. Somehow I think we need to be bold. I don't work for Cnooc, but I think we need to be bold here. Because this is for us. If you've been hearing what the president says, seriously, this is something to move and you gain. This brother of mine, you see, you come here, immediately you are negative. And your questions are negative. And you are, I mean, come on.
Colleagues.
Yes, I just want us to look forward.
Just a minute. In this space, everyone is entitled to his or her opinion. However, what distinguishes us from one another is the ability to listen to even what is not favoring our opinion. Please, like he listened to you, listen to him. Please, my brother, make your point.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
No, I am now saying that you guys talked about linkages, which that's where I come in, those linkages. You said you don't operate in vacuum, and we can see. So now, in the restoration programs you also talked about, I am thinking, in your policies, which attract the communities, what can we go beyond oil?
Okay.
You see, they said oil goes for 25 years. So how do we sustain? Let's call oil a catastrophe. I'm just saying. So what do we do beyond the oil? In Bunyoro, for example. Okay. What are these opportunities? This is what I want us to look at.
Okay,
more.
thank you.
Thank you.
Again, my name is Okumu David Kadokech from Catix Group. I have a question and a concern. The first concern is, I think the way Cnooc is taking, it is bidding, and that I doubt whether the infant farms like ours will have a space for the next 5 years. Being a statistician, I'm trying to project that. It's quite hard for us to embed in that. And second to that, the wider instance, the way my brother engineer spoke about the many document that is frustrating. I think more on the application, though we're in a competing world. That is a concern. Secondly, our question, being an environmental activist on one way or the other, I would also love to see, maybe to read more on the report or from the assessment or the quarterly compliance. I don't know, they published to the public to see where Cnooc is standing in the issue of climate issues and environmental conservation. That quarterly report, I think I would also love to read.
Thank you. Your point
is looking at the opportunities that were presented, the upcoming opportunities, and most of them, they indicate that the method of procurement will be selective. So my question is, how do we get selected? What criteria do you follow? What if I'm good at what I'm doing but not know to you? So kindly clarify on that.
Okay, finally.
Once again, I'm pleasing near Igulu Mtebaka. Having listened to whatever the presentation has been, I've seen something which is quite lacking. This being partially political, whereby investments are not looked at as investments for Africa at large, and now particularly Uganda. Why? Here we are limited to amounts of money for investment in the country, whereby you may have a good funder who is ready, he may have even $1 trillion worth of investment, but Cnooc or the other side may really look at that amount of money and says, how have you got this money? Man, we are developing Africa.
Okay.
Why do we ask such questions?
Please,
when people here are investing outside and developing those countries.
Thank you very much, Elder. You've made your point.
Ask if we're JV, how many companies do they consider?
Thank you.
Is kept in a room that is an archive room. I think some people have come to Cnooc, and you know where we open our bids form. We have a locker where all the price proposals are kept. No one moves with any price proposal, and they are monitored and entered into the system. The room is well fitted with CCTV cameras, so there's no one who can access the room. Only can be accessed when it is time for price opening. So when you come to Cnooc and present your bid, what we only capture is your technical proposal and your price proposal. We don't move with the price proposals, they stay in that room and they're monitored. If you pass the technical proposal and unpriced proposal, is when we call you back to come and open. Prices are open with everyone as a witness, even the bidders who you're competing with, they come and attend the bid opening. And I think we have done it very fair. We open bids in front of everyone. We take we write all the bids, and all the bidders sign on an attendance list. So there's nothing like it's unfair or there's corruption. The process is very clean and fair. I didn't pick your point very clear, but on the conformity form, yes, there are items that you say quoted, and then some items you say you've not quoted for. Is that your point?
Yeah, that was my point. Like as I said, the conformity form is itemized in the same way with.
On my slides, I really showed you what changes. What only changes within the price schedule and the conformity form. The price schedule has where you input your price in US dollars or UGX, and then the price conformity has where you say quoted or not quoted. And if you have any deviations, you have space for you to fill in any deviations.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies my point.
Okay. Requirements. Someone said past experience and financial. I think the past experience we mean is not only in oil and gas. Some of you can bear me witness. You bring your experience, you've done work out of oil and gas, we still consider you. All we just need to know is that you're competent enough to carry out that kind of work. ESIA, the Environmental Social Impact Assessment, I think people have done with different organizations, government entities like NEMA and all that. If you have such kind of ISO certificates, if you've done such kind of work, definitely you qualify to work with Cnooc. The financials, yes, we are really very strict on financials because this is a big company. This is a big industry. We all know that the oil and gas is big. It involves big sums of money. It involves very big kind of contracts. For you to come to the oil and gas industry, definitely you need to have some kind of financial muscle.
because you need to make sure that if we give you a contract, you're going to execute.
This is, when we go out, matter of fact, we want Ugandans to do this work, okay? But there is a certain standard that at least we want you to get to. Sometimes we look at the technical proposals from some bidders, and you're like, oh my God, what's this? It looks like they just got the proposal, put it in Blender, and then from the Blender they printed it and gave it to you. You have 400 pages, and out of 400 pages, there is only one paragraph that makes sense. You get it? So it is.
The forest of words and the desert of points.
So it is very key and very important that when you prepare your proposals, especially technical proposals, have a subject matter expert to go over it, yeah, to look at it and and guide you, and attend most of these workshops where we give you pointers on strategies on how to win these things. But it's up to you, okay, to take this information on board, receive it positively, and then think on how you can position yourself to take up these opportunities. Okay? We don't want to favor any people. And also, there was something said about rates. The thing is, quite frankly, if, for instance, if we have a public bidding or an open bidding, you're going to compete against everybody in the industry. Okay? Be it Chinese, be it American, be it Ugandan, be it Zimbabwean, they all want to partake of these jobs. Okay? But now, if you've passed the technical proposal or the technical evaluation, and then we come to price opening, if the prices are within at least 10% range, okay, with a foreign company, a Ugandan company will take it. Simply because we want a Ugandan company to take it. And also the regulation, yeah, basically, the regulation asks us to give that to a Ugandan company or a company that has got better national content provisions for the contract. So I don't think there is anything to do, that we try to discriminate. No, it's our procurement process is very fair and transparent. And in fact, most of the decisions are not even made by Cnooc. They are made by the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. Because once we've evaluated, we make a recommendation that we recommend such and such a service provider to take this contract. And we send it to the authority. And the authority basically puts the entire recommendation under a microscope. They check what's the scope of work, what were the technical scopes. They check everything and they go like, okay, yes, we have no objection, or we object to this recommendation. So it's not something that we don't do it unilaterally within Cnooc. PAU is involved. So it is very transparent and quite frankly quite fair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, team. Is there any?
If Ugandan companies are forming a JV, they don't need permission or approval from the Petroleum Authority. That is, if 2 Ugandans or 3 Ugandans, you don't need an agreement or an MOU between us, the Ugandans. But if you're forming a JV with a foreign company or a foreign partner, that approval needs that partnership has to be confirmed by the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. There was a question about CSR activities. That was from, I think, Stephen Mubega, talked about drilling of borehole, building classrooms. Have you heard of the Buhuka Gravity Water Scheme project we did in still Buhuka? This was the CSR activity. Yes, Chukube district. We were basically providing clean water for the community. Yes, we don't do activities probably the ones you want to hear about, but there are others. We've also donated some donation to a hospital in Entebbe. This was done by
$500,000.
Yes. So you
that's like 1.8 billion.
Yes. That's the hospital in Entebbe. So we've been doing the activities, but I think you need to keep following up.
Scholarships.
Yes. Yeah. Recently, actually, we gave out scholarships to three students, 2 boys, 1 girl. They are being sponsored in China to do their undergraduate. It was advertised in the newspapers. The students applied and they went through the entire process and they got a scholarship.
All that is non-recoverable.
Yes, non-recoverable. Then
make sure that you don't forget whether how someone scans that and what comes. that above logo, yes, that one.
Now that one I'll leave it to, I think, Cnooc. So I think in a nutshell, then there was a question from Beautiful Engineering. Beautiful Engineering has actually done work with Cnooc, a lot of work. How did you get those contracts that you did? Because you were asking that, is it how do we do the selective bidding? You've been part of that bidding process.
No, I was asking for other people.
General information.
General information. Yeah, I wish you could answer that for them, because at least you've been part of the process and you've won several contracts, not one, not two, isn't it? All right. So I think that is all for me. Cnooc, can you do justice to that other part?
Now this is just the Chinese way of writing Cnooc. Uganda Limited. Yeah.
Yes, sorry, we can't read it.
So it's not an assumption. That's if anyone reads Chinese here, you would confirm that.
Okay.
Yes. So that's it goes along with the English as well. Now we had a question related to the correlation between environment and social aspects, right? We have actually an entire department that looks at QHSE. Quality, health, safety, environment. How do we manage this on the project? Now, environment has the social component in it. And to us, I think you rightly intimated, the social license of the Kingfisher project is one of the most important and valued aspects. The communities that we work with, that we work amongst, work we live in, are very critical to the work that we do. And we treat this very special. I'll give you a quick example. We had a calf that was knocked mistakenly because the animal was grazing. And we had to compensate, the contractor had to compensate handsomely. The owner of the cow, I think, just hoped, I wish I had another.
No.
Yes. Yeah, so it's very, very critical. And there are so many arrangements that I might not go in. We have a corporate affairs team. They focus on the social license sustainers. The staff, HIV, AIDS for contractors and all that, there's a lot of campaigns, there's a lot of work that is being done. Yes, I think you can seek further information. The nutrition, I think this is not a problem. One, we have the PAU, they have on-site monitors. They do follow up on each and every part of these nitty-gritties to ensure that the contractors are actually implementing the requirements for food safety. So these are very, very critical, just to arrest your fears.